Hi, my name is Emma and let's talk spooky stuff. Hello, welcome back. My gosh, has it been a weird couple of weeks. It'd be weird not addressing it, but obviously I'm going to keep my videos going because during this time, I know a lot of people need a distraction, and I know these videos can help you find some movies to watch while you're spending time at home. Everyone is home at the moment. I'm really sorry for any external noise. Apparently everyone decided to mow their lawns today. So I've been waiting for a couple of hours, but I can't wait anymore. So I really hope that it's not too noisy. So I get a lot of DMs asking if I have recommendations for certain types of films. So I thought it'd be fun if I put it all together and I actually asked you on Instagram what movies you would like to see. And I got a lot of responses. I actually got over 150 responses. So you guys were pretty keen on this idea. I'm gonna be talking about movies that are pretty readily available on VOD. So hopefully this will give you some inspiration to what you can watch at the moment. So please get your notepads and your pens because you're gonna wanna write some of these down. I'm Ben, asked if I can recommend a horror comedy, and they've also said that they've seen almost everything that they could find. This one's really hard because it depends on what comedy you like. I like really dry humor, sarcastic humor, more like British, obviously Australian, New Zealand humor, and I'm also gonna be trying to suggest not the obvious ones. So we're gonna start off with Satanic Panic. This horror comedy is about a pizza delivery girl at the end of her rope when her last order of the night just happens to be into a fancy neighborhood that is full of Satanists, and they're looking for a virgin to sacrifice. I was pleasantly surprised at this one. I think I named it in my gems of 2019. I thought it was a great film, and I thought it was pretty kitschy but funny at the same time, and I think it's very self-aware, which I love. Next up, I have to talk about Dead Snow, which is a Norwegian film. This one is very different. This is about a ski vacation that turns horrific after a group of medical students find themselves confronted by Nazi zombies. Yep, Nazi zombies. This one I wasn't really sure I would like. I'm not really into action movies, but it is quite funny, strange, worth your time. And you guys know I like to include a lot of foreign horror, so I've also got an Irish film because I feel like these are the hidden gems that might not get on your radar as much as the blockbusters from America. This movie is Grabbers, and this one is about a small island off the coast of Ireland which gets invaded by blood-sucking aliens, but the villagers discover that the only way they can survive is by getting drunk. Do I need to say more? It's a good time. Check it out. My next request was for cheesy 80s horror movies. And when I think of cheese and 80s, the first thing I always think about is Night of the Demons. There is nothing more cheesy nor 80s than this film. In this film, teenagers party in an abandoned funeral parlor on Halloween night, and an evil force awakens with a demonic spirit to keep them from leaving. Night of the Demons is not my favorite, but it seems to be a pretty big hit when it comes to the cheese factor. But the next one I think is kind of the kooky cheese that I really like, which is Motel Hell. Point blank, this one is about a farmer and his sister who kidnap travelers and bury them alive, using them to become a special meat that they're famous for. I guess it's like cheesy meat, right? But the last one is something that I highly recommend, and I didn't actually see this one maybe like 4 or 5 years ago. I watched it with my patrons, and this one's famous for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's the only film that Stephen King ever directed, and number two, he was high on cocaine the whole time, and this is Maximum Overdrive. In this one, a group have to fight for their lives when all the machines around them come alive and they're out for the kill. This one is really kooky, and the imagery has to be seen to be believed, and I recommend watching this one with a bunch of friends because it's a good time. And when I say group of friends, I mean Skype party, guys. Bella asks if I have any good recommendations for alien movies that aren't popular. I'm so glad you asked this. I have one really good recommendation for this. It is my favorite alien movie and one of my favorite horror, sci-fi, weird-ass movies that ever happened, that even exists. It's based on a book, and it is Communion. Starring none other than Christopher Walken, this film is based on a real-life account about a man who thinks he is experiencing an encounter of the fourth kind. This film is very powerful. Of course, with the other really kind of creepy alien movies, it's got a lot to do with being hypnotized, bringing up deep-seated dreams and memories, but there's a couple of scenes in this film that there's just nothing like it. Really, there is nothing like it. And I know I've said this before, but the way the aliens move in this movie is very alien, and we always expect, you know, these kind of greys to walk in like in Signs, you know, when they're walking past the window. But in this movie, the aliens move in such a foreign and weird way that it just feels eerie and uncomfortable, and that's why I love this movie. I think it's a great alien movie. In fact, it's my favorite alien movie. And it fits the bill because it's one that people don't talk about often. Next up was a request for more movies like Ginger Snaps, and I have two really good recommendations for you. The first one being Cursed from 2005, and this was directed by Wes Craven. I'm sure some of you guys have seen this one, but if you haven't, it's worth a look. This is about a werewolf that is loose in LA, and it changes the lives of 3 young adults. This one is quite typical werewolf, but the next one is a little bit different. This is When Animals Dream. When Animals Dream is a Danish film from 2014, and it's about a 16-year-old girl who lives on a small island with her seriously ill mother and her father. She has to take care of the family, but suddenly she starts to feel something strange happening to her body. I'd say this one is more like Ginger Snaps because it's got to do with her coming of age and her changing and the pressure that is put on her as a young girl. And I absolutely love this film. It's a little bit more understated, but really beautifully shot. Everything in Denmark is, even Antichrist. I'm Ben Grimm asks if I know any horror movies about people making horror movies, and I feel like you're trying to bait me into talking about One Cut of the Dead. One Cut of the Dead is a Japanese horror comedy, and it's about a film crew who are shooting a low-budget zombie movie in an abandoned warehouse. But not everything is as it seems, and they are attacked by real zombies. This one you just need to watch because there's more to the story. And you definitely need to check it out for yourself, because if you haven't seen it, you will thank me later. If you haven't heard about it, I'm very surprised because there was a huge amount of buzz about it last year. I believe it was released on Shudder. So definitely check that out if you haven't. You're welcome. But in regards to a horror movie about people shooting horror movies, that's the only one I can think about an actual horror movie. But of course, there's lots of found footage that is documenting people filming documentaries, which is like Creep, The Blair Witch, and The Tunnel. I got a question asking for recommendations about killer clowns that aren't It or killer clowns from outer space. One of the clown movies that kind of slips through the cracks, I feel like for me, is Stitches. This is a comedy horror starring Ross Noble, and in this one, a clown comes back from the dead to haunt those who took his life during a fatal accident at a party. This one is quite fun, and it's a little bit different than just a plain killer clown, but another clown movie that is quite different is Clown itself. Clown is a Canadian film about a loving father who finds a clown suit for his son's birthday, but only after he is stuck inside it does he realize that it's cursed. And of course, I can't go past this one without talking about Terrifier. This film is about Art the Clown, who has become an icon in the recent years. And in this one, it is very simple. On Halloween night, a young woman is stalked by a sadistic murderer known as Art the Clown. Obviously, they're working on Terrifier 2 right now, but if you want a bloody, gory clown, Terrifier is definitely the way to go, and I believe it's on Netflix in most countries. If you guys ever wonder why I don't tell you what streaming devices movies are on, it's because I'm in Australia, and for me, streaming devices are very different. I do get a lot of questions about Shudder. We don't actually have Shudder in Australia, so that's why I don't mention that, because it's all different depending where you are. Next, I got a question about camping and hiking movies, and I really did pull out the stops in this one, and I chose films that you probably haven't heard of or haven't seen yet. First up is a film from Belgium, and this is Cub from 2014. In this one, a young boy heads off into the woods as part of a summer camp, but he is terrified because he's convinced that he will encounter a monster. And he does. The next film is The Ritual, which is a heartbreaker. This was filmed in Romania, and it's about a reunion for a bunch of college friends who go for a hike into the forest, but they encounter a menacing presence in the woods that's stalking them. And another foreign film for you guys, Lake Bodom. This is a Finnish film about Lake Bodom, where a murder took place in the 1960s, but in this one, 4 teenagers go back to Lake Bodom, where they are doomed to repeat the same fate. Ali Lou asks if I have any recommendations on the gorier side. Of course, there's the normal ones like Hostel, Human Centipede, Evil Dead, the remake is super gory, but let's try some lesser known movies that you might not have seen, and let's start with Eat. I know I talk about this movie a bit. I've actually done a review on it. For me, I think it's just such a low budget gem. In this one, a struggling actress in LA develops an unhealthy way to cope. And a film that I have not spoken about on this channel at all is the Japanese gore action drama ICHI the Killer. This is about ultra-violent ICHI, a psychotic killer who's able to inflict levels of pain you can only dream of. Huge warning, that film is a lot to take in. so be ready for it. But of course, if you're looking for any more gore, you can always pick up one of the guinea pig films. I did a whole video on the series, the Japanese series. They're a lot, and that's a lot of gore. It depends on the level you're looking for. Let me know if you guys want me to do a similar video reaction to the American guinea pig films as I did to the Japanese guinea pig films. Silhouettes is after identity thrillers similar to Perfect Blue or Cam, and I have 3 good recommendations for this. I have Enemy. I did talk about this really briefly in my A24 film video, but I didn't get to talk about it and why I like it so much. This one stars Jake Gyllenhaal, and it's about a man who seeks out his exact look-alike after spotting him in a movie. This one is down the rabbit hole for sure. You think it's very understated and really obvious what's happening, and I promise you, you'll be very shocked by the end. I really enjoyed that film. Next, I have to talk about Black Swan. Obviously, if there's anything that is confusing for identity and self-reflection, it is Black Swan because it's in the most dramatic way. Natalie Portman plays a committed dancer who was struggling to maintain her sanity after winning the lead role in The Swan Lake. And lastly, I found a great recommendation for Perfect Blue and identity thriller because it mixes them both together in an anime, and it's very interesting. This is A Scanner Darkly. This one stars Keanu Reeves, Winona Ryder, and Robert Downey Jr. And in this one, an undercover cop in the not so distant future becomes involved with a dangerous new drug, which causes him to lose his own identity as a result. I saw this one when I was in film school, and it really messed with my mind. So for my last recommendation, I thought I'd slow it down a little bit, and Gwen asked if I have any romantic horror movies as a suggestion. This one is hard because I'm not sure if you mean like romantic vibes and moods, because there's a lot of films like that, or like an actual romance between 2 characters. For a great story of love and betrayal, it has to be SANGRE. In this tragic love story, a former circus artist escapes a mental hospital to rejoin his armless mother, but he is forced to commit brutal murders in her name as he becomes her arms. Don't worry, the romance that I'm talking about is not between the son and the mother. It's between another character that he connects with as a child and then later in life. But if we want to talk romance, as in romantic relationships, Spring from 2014 is number 1. Set in Italy, a young man flies in from the US, where he sparks a romance with a woman harboring a dark secret. This one is just super romantic, and I think it fits the bill perfectly. But if you want to take it to the darker side, we can always talk about Honeymoon. Honeymoon is just that, a movie about a beautiful honeymoon, but the bride goes sleepwalking into the woods, and when she returns, she is not the same. Very sinister, very vague, and a hit or miss for people, but I do think it's worth a watch. But if you need any more, remember you can always go to the cult classics. We got Dracula, he's always very romantic, and even the creature from the Black Lagoon, there's a little bit of romance in there. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and it gave you a couple of recommendations, whether that was movies you had heard of but weren't too sure about, or new movies altogether. I really hope it helped. I hope you guys are staying safe, and I will talk to you guys very soon. If you liked this video, please let me know and I can do another one. And make sure you follow me over on Instagram so you can be involved in the next one. I'll talk to you guys very soon. Stay spooky. Bye.